Hi, I'm Craig Williams. I'm the author of How Would You Decide? 10 Famous Trials That Changed History, and probably the reason that it got adapted into In Dispute, this podcast. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for about 40 years. I live out in California and have practiced here trying cases all this time. I picked the trials with Susan Barry from Kaplan Publishing, my original publisher. She and I selected the trials based on the drama that was involved, based on the celebrity nature of the parties. Some of them weren't celebrities before they started, but certainly became celebrities as the trial wound on. For example, Lindy Chamberlain in Australia. No one knew her before the trial started, but once the dingo ate her baby, everyone in Australia knew who she was. Pretty much the same with the McMartin Preschool trial. That bizarre trial kind of harkens back to the Salem Witch Trials. Also interesting because in the Salem Witch Trials, there were virtually no procedures and some pretty crazy procedures that were used. For example, they allowed testimony about apparitions and ghosts into evidence. It was called spectral evidence. It was actually written about and used in the trials to convict the witches. So very different circumstances, but yet demonstrating the continuity that have we really gotten that far as humans in the way that we treat other people. The Salem Witch Trials. I mean, honestly, in my mind, I thought they were all burned at the stake because, of course, that's what happened during the Inquisition and in Europe. And so when I started researching, I had in mind pictures of Puritan women in their black dresses and white collars burning on the stake. But no, they were hung, all of them, including a wizard who was actually a Baptist minister, not a Puritan. He was hung as well. The other surprising thing I think I learned about that chapter was that it was the only case, or only situation in the United States where someone was put to death by stoning. I would suggest either the McMartin Preschool trial or the Lindy Chamberlain trial in Australia. McMartin was in Los Angeles. Both trials have pretty much the same kind of parallels in sense of the overwhelming nature of the case being tried in the public rather than in the courtroom. In the McMartin Preschool trial, they spent $17 million and didn't get a conviction. In the Lindy Chamberlain trial, the dingo ate my baby case, she was convicted, spent time in jail, and then they found the baby's matinee jacket with dingo DNA on it. So they had to release her, but the whole country was against it. And the McMartin Preschool trial was insane to the level that they destroyed the school and dug it up looking for secret tunnels underneath. Craziness. There is very vibrant court testimony, and there is dramatic, colorful news commentary on all of these trials, so it makes it very easy to pick interesting testimony. There's a lot of drama in courtroom testimony, and I would say that the thing that really drives the story arc in the book is how did the lawyers affect the outcome? What tricks did they use? How did they set up the cases so that their client would win? And there are some pretty tricky ones in here. If you've ever been in criminal court, you know there's always a preliminary hearing before the trial itself. Well, in the Wyatt Earp case, they used the preliminary hearing as the means to avoid the trial and avoid a jury, to get the judge to declare Wyatt and Doc and his brothers innocent. So there are some things your lawyers can do that will affect the outcome rather dramatically. The book itself lists a number of trials that I wanted to cover and that were going to make the list. I would say that the number one that didn't make the list is probably the Joan of Arc case. It's historical. It's about a young woman who sacrificed herself and became famous because of it. But there are other ones, like the trial of Lizzie Borden, Sam Shepard, led to the movie The Fugitive, the Menendez brothers, Charles Manson, of course, Patty Hearst, Aaron Burr in treason, betrayal, the Rosenbergs, and I think probably the first one I would tackle, though, because it's coming up, is Brown versus Board of Education. We've had hints that our Supreme Court is looking hard at overruling it, so I think it's important that people first understand the basic part about the trial, and I can look up the transcripts, read about it, and explain it. Well, first of all, they're all dead. But The one I want to meet with and the one I want to have lunch with and really spend an afternoon with, John Adams. I mean, the man stepped up and defended the 8 British soldiers in a situation where our country was a powder keg. We were sitting on the Revolutionary War, sparked in large part due to his cousin, John Adams' cousin, Samuel Adams. When he took on the trial of these 8 British redcoats and won, he lost half of his law practice. His clients abandoned him. They couldn't believe that he would betray their patriot cause, and they left for other lawyers. I'd really want to know how he recovered from that and what he did to become vice president and president of our country, because that's quite a setback to recover from. I think that would make an interesting lunch. The testimony and the judges and the witnesses and the lawyers really are the ones that bring it to life. So you'll hear a lot of voices, a lot of voice actors playing these things out. And so pulling that testimony out of the book and shortening it up so that it fit into a podcast and made sense was a real challenge. And I hope you enjoy it.